At 87 years old, Gregory Peck finally allowed himself to admit a truth he had carried in silence for decades. She was the great love of his life. Gregory Peck's story begins on April 5, 1916, in La Jolla, California. Born Eldred Gregory Peck, his early life was marked by quiet strength and a dignified presence, traits that would later define his on-screen image. But childhood wasn't easy. When he was just 6 years old, his parents divorced, leaving his grandmother to step into the role of primary caregiver. Despite the turbulence of his early years, Peck's academic journey was impressive. He first attended San Diego State University before transferring to the University of California, Berkeley. There, he majored in English and pre-med, planning a career in medicine. But fate had other plans. It was during his time at Berkeley that he discovered a love for acting, performing in campus productions that lit a creative spark strong enough to change the course of his life. Abandoning his plans to become a doctor, he chose the uncertain path of an actor, a decision that would lead him to cinematic immortality. Peck's acting career took root in the theater, where his commanding stage presence quickly caught attention. Before long, he had made his way to Broadway. But it was Hollywood that would make him a legend. In 1944, he made his film debut in Days of Glory, and from there, his ascent was rapid. His towering frame, deep voice, and natural authority allowed him to embody roles that radiated integrity, justice, and compassion. His most unforgettable role came in 1962 when Peck brought Atticus Finch to life in To Kill a Mockingbird. This wasn't just another character, it became a symbol of morality and decency. As the principled Southern lawyer defending an innocent black man in a racially charged town, Peck's portrayal was both powerful and deeply human. His performance earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor, and would later be recognized by the American Film Institute as the greatest hero in American film history. But for many, it wasn't just the character that stood tall, it was Peck himself, whose own moral compass seemed to echo that of Atticus Finch. Off-screen, Peck was no less committed to justice. He stood firmly against the Hollywood blacklist during the fear-driven McCarthy era, refusing to be silenced in the face of widespread paranoia. Throughout his life, he championed civil rights, protested the Vietnam War, and advocated for nuclear disarmament. His activism wasn't for headlines, it was woven into the fabric of who he was. He once said, "Tough times don't last, tough people do," a phrase that embodied both the characters he played and the man behind them. Over the decades, Peck's filmography grew, filled with classics. From the romantic charm opposite Audrey Hepburn in Roman Holiday, 1953, to the psychological tension of Alfred Hitchcock's Spellbound, 1945, to war epics like The Guns of Navarone, 1961, and chilling thrillers like Cape Fear, 1962, and The Omen, 1976, Peck proved his versatility time and again. His talent earned him 5 Oscar nominations, a Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1969, and the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award in 1967, recognizing not just his artistry but his humanity. In his personal life, Peck's story was marked by both love and loss. In October 1942, as his career began its meteoric rise, he married Greta Kukkonen, a Finnish-American woman whose quiet grace offered him stability amid Hollywood's chaos. Together, they had 3 sons, Jonathan, Stephen, and Carrie Paul. But fame isn't kind to every marriage. Though Greta maintained their household with resilience, the strain of Peck's growing stardom ultimately led to their divorce in 1955, ending over a decade of shared life. Tragedy would strike the Peck family years later, in one of the most painful moments of the actor's life. In June 1975, Peck's eldest son, Jonathan, was found dead in his home, a victim of suicide. Peck, who had built a career on playing men of strength and resolve, admitted this loss left him broken. "You never get over something like that," he once said, his voice stripped of the calm assurance audiences had known for decades. The grief followed him for the rest of his life, a wound even time couldn't heal. Peck's life, however, also carried the weight of another secret, a hidden chapter that revealed the complexities behind the icon. During the filming of Spellbound, he and his co-star, the legendary Ingrid Bergman, found themselves entangled in a brief but passionate affair. Years later, Peck spoke of it, not with scandal but with quiet honesty. "I had a real love for her," he said, choosing not to say more. Both were young. Both were vulnerable. And for a few fleeting weeks, they found comfort in each other amidst the pressures of fame. Soon after the end of his first marriage, a new love entered Peck's life. On New Year's Eve of 1955, just one day after finalizing his divorce, he married Véronique Passoni, a Parisian journalist. They had met years earlier during an interview in France. What began as a simple conversation evolved into a lifelong partnership, built on intellectual respect, deep affection, and quiet understanding. Together, they had 2 children, Anthony and Cecilia. Anthony would follow in his father's footsteps into the entertainment world, even briefly marrying supermodel Cheryl Tiegs. Cecilia would choose her own creative path, working as a documentary filmmaker and actress. Through triumph and tragedy, love and loss, Gregory Peck lived a life defined not by celebrity but by integrity. Whether standing for justice on-screen or fighting for causes off-screen, he remained true to his values. And at the end of his life, as he looked back on the decades behind him, he allowed himself one final quiet confession. Love, after all, was the greatest story he ever lived.